Discover the miraculous judgment of Sodom and Gomorrah. 3. Divine revelations of God's sacred plan. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, the sins of Sodom reached their fullness, echoing into the heavens. The prosperous city thrived in its affluence, yet beneath the shimmering surface lay a moral decay that darkened the souls of its citizens. Lot, faithful nephew of Abraham, found himself at the crossroads of divine judgment and the relentless indulgence of Sodom. He marveled at the grandeur around him, yet his heart felt the weight of an unseen burden, gripping him with anxiety, for he remembered the covenant promise God made to his uncle. As dusk descended, giving way to night, Lot's senses stirred with the foreboding presence of something immense. He stood at the city gates, their grand arches framing a cruel spectacle of hedonism. He had built his life upon the wealth inherited from Abraham, yet he could not silence the voice of righteousness within, pleading against the cacophony of discord. In the twilight, tension crackled in the air like palpable electricity. The very fabric of Sodom was unraveling. Then 2 angels entered the city, their radiant forms cloaked in human guise. Lot, discerning their divinity, hastened to them. "Turn aside to your servant's house," he urged, imploring them to accept his hospitality, aware of the grave fate that awaited them outside. Little did he know how deeply he would be tested this night. As the darkness thickened, a throng of wicked men surged around Lot's dwelling, their cries like the growl of a tempest. "Bring them out to us!" they shouted, a symphony of depravity urging fulfillment of their heinous desires. Lot's heart raced. "Do not act so wickedly," he pleaded, his soul tormented as he made a desperate offer. "I have 2 daughters." The agonizing choice laid bare his struggle. He sought to protect the strangers beneath his roof while sacrificing that which was dear. Their eyes cold and heartless, the mob pressed forward. At that moment, heavenly authority manifested. The angels struck the men with blindness, their raging cries turning to confusion and despair. Through this divine intervention, hope surged in Lot's heart. The angels, powerful and resolute, spoke to him, "Escape for your life. We will destroy this city." The urgency of their words pierced through the madness of Sodom, grounding him in the sobering reality of impending doom. "Gather your family," they implored, but to Lot, panic surged. He rushed back to his home, pleading with those who remained. "We must leave. The Lord will destroy this city." Yet his wife hesitated, regretful for the life they built in the city's embrace. "Why leave all we have?" she cried, her feet entangled in the dust of the land that had once felt like home. Before the heavens unleashed their fury, the ground shuddered beneath their feet. Escaping was no longer just a suggestion, it was a matter of survival. As the fiery destruction began, they fled, and gazing back, Lot's wife was caught. In a fleeting moment of longing for the life they left behind, she hesitated. The sacred word became reality. She turned into a pillar of salt, a testimony to the consequences of rebellion. Flames devoured the land, and Lot stood trembling amidst the chaos. His heart wrestled with despair, emotions entwined. What of the righteous? Was there still grace to be found? As Sodom succumbed to fiery destruction, the echoes of a divine promise enveloped him. A profound mystery loomed, leading him to question, was there yet a plan unfurling amidst judgment and despair? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. The flames illuminated the ruins of what once was, and Lot's heart wavered between faith and doubt. A glimmer of hope lay hidden in turmoil. Could he yet see God's work unravel? As he mourned for what was lost, a calling emerged, stirring in him the weight of the divine. Would the threads of the covenant promise weave through the ashes of Sodom? With the destruction behind him, Lot stood poised at the precipice of destiny, longing for divine understanding as the cries of the condemned faded into the night. As the sun advanced over the desolate landscape, shrouded in the acrid haze of judgment, Lot found himself wandering, his heart a tumult of sorrow and confusion. The vibrant life of Sodom, now just a memory, echoed in the desolate terrain where he stood. His daughters clung to his side, their eyes wide with fear, seeking solace from a father burdened by the weight of a shattered home and the loss of hope. "Where will we go now, Father?" they implored, their voices trembling, and the innocence of their youth stark against the backdrop of calamity. Lot glanced at them and felt a chilling paralysis grip him. The salvation of another land echoed in the promise of his God, but the path forward lay murky, obscured by the smoke curling heavensward. The angels had urged him to flee to a mountain, yet they could not know the full depths of his despair. "Let us take refuge in the city of Zoar," he urged, desperation lacing his words. "It is small, and I will be safe there." The angels, ever faithful, consented, signaling the path that would lead him to salvation. With the shout of impending doom still echoing, they took flight, setting forth through the charred remnants of Sodom. Lot's heart flickered with the hope of survival and the reality of sin's cost. As they moved, he cast one last look behind, the charred ruins serving as a stark reminder of the stark choice made by his wife. Arriving at the small city of Zoar, weariness settled into Lot's weary bones. The air was different here, less steeped in vice, though the shadows of judgment hung heavily. In the stillness of the night, an angelic voice broke the calm. "Do not look back, for what now lies behind is a testament to rebellion." That night, weary and not yet assured of their safety, Lot and his daughters took refuge. Yet fear gnawed at the edge of Lot's mind. The devastation left in the wake of divine judgment stirred something within him. Would they too succumb to the injustice that had overrun Sodom? The haunting question lingered like an unquenchable thirst, yearning for clarity amidst the chaos. The next morning, as dawn pierced the remnants of blackened skies, Lot stirred. He could feel the weight of Israel's covenant pressing down upon him. What of the promise that his progeny would be as numerous as the stars? How could he nurture a legacy in this forsaken land, torn from the heart of a sinful base? He climbed to a precipice overlooking Zoar, the promise of numerous descendants weaving through his thoughts like threads of a tapestry. As he pondered the future, fear knotted in his stomach. He knew now that he must act, and soon, even as echoes of destruction roared in his ears. With a heart full of unease, he turned to his daughters. "We cannot remain here," he declared. "The judgment of the Lord is a terrifying truth, and I must secure God's promise to our family." He approached them, the burden of their legacy weighing heavily on his shoulders. They would need to find wives, build a future, yet the spectre of Sodom, its legacy, its vices, bathes his heart in trepidation. "Come," he urged, "we shall seek a land anew, where we may prosper, honoring the covenant of our forefather." And so they set forth, determined to navigate the path of redemption, each step echoing the struggle of faith, clawing against despair. Yet behind their steps lay the smouldering ash of a story unfinished, the fire of divine judgment still whispering of the price of sin, piercing the silence with profound implications for future generations. Unbeknownst to Lot, the Lord's plan unfurled like the dawn, both a blessing and an admonition. "For the righteousness of one can ripple through the ages," he whispered through the wind. Little did Lot know, the remnants of Sodom were not only a marker of judgment, but a canvas upon which the promise of redemption would be painted. What greater providence did God weave through these ashes? And how would the story continue to unfold? The heart of God's purpose beat steadily beneath the chaos, beckoning forth a revelation yet to come. As the sun arose, casting light upon the battered land, Lot and his daughters prepared for their journey beyond Zoar. With each step away from the remnants of Sodom, a mixture of relief and dread washed over Lot. The haunting memories of the city, the laughter, the cries, the very sins that had sealed their doom, flooded him. Yet, emboldened by faith, he pressed on, knowing the weight of a covenant rested upon his family. "Father, where shall we seek refuge?" asked his eldest daughter, her voice quivering with uncertainty. Lot turned, searching for the right words, but his heart was constricted. "We shall find a land where righteousness dwells, my child, a place where hope is not extinguished by vice." As they traversed the rugged terrain, a profound silence enveloped them, the very air crackling with the remnants of the earth's turmoil. The vastness of creation stood before them, a stark contrast to the life that had once filled the streets of Sodom. Lot pondered the enormity of their plight. How could he keep the Lord's promise alive, to be fruitful and multiply, when the very heart of his kin was entwined with the sorrow of a defiled city? Little did they know that beneath the ground they traversed, the land groaned in expectation. For the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had not forsaken his people, nor had his plans been thwarted by human disobedience. In the hearts of those unseen soldiers of the heavens, the spirits of righteousness awaited redemption. They halted by a stream, the water glistening like the promises of God. Lot knelt, refreshing his hands and praying silently for direction. As he lifted his eyes, a figure approached, cloaked in white radiance. It was a messenger from the heavens, bearing a gaze full of purpose. The daughters gasped, stepping back as the angel spoke with a voice like the rushing wind. "Fear not, Lot, for I have been sent to assure you, the Lord remembers your faith." "What of our future?" Lot questioned, desperation creeping into his tone. "Will we find a land where we may prosper?" The angel's countenance shone with divinity as he answered, "The Lord's plans are greater than your fears. In a land of abundance shall your descendants flourish. Take heart, for from you shall come a people who will glorify the name of the Almighty." As the divine presence faded, a sense of hope surged within Lot's heart. He gathered his daughters. "I have faith that our steps are being guided, for the God of our forefathers has spoken." Yet doubt lingered in the hearts of his daughters, born from the echoes of their past. "Will we not suffer the temptation of sin as before?" they asked. Lot felt the burden press down anew. Could he truly shelter them from the scars of a fallen world? In responding, Lot sought strength in the stories of old. The faith of Abraham had brought blessings, despite unyielding trials. "What we must remember is the promise that God has woven through our lineage," he said. "Our journey is one of faith amidst the shadows of despair." As they pressed onward, the earth beneath them trembled with the resolve of God's sovereign plan. Fate had intertwined them with a destiny beyond their sight, revealing not just judgment, but a way of redemption that would transcend time. And as they journeyed further from the ashes of Sodom, the fabric of their legacy hung in the balance, a web intricately crafted by the Almighty. What new covenant awaited in the lands ahead? What could arise from their tears and burdens? The hand of God moved silently, yet powerfully, revealing that through their struggle, the story of salvation was yet to be etched into the annals of time, waiting to bloom in unexpected ways. In the distance, the horizon shimmered with the promise of a new beginning, teasing the heart with the whisper of hope yet unrealized. As they continued their course, the sun climbed higher, illuminating the path that lay before them. Lot led with unyielding resolve, praying for guidance, while his daughters fell into a restless silence, each grappling with the fracture of their past. They walked in the shadow of despair, a depth that seemed an inseparable companion. After some time, they reached a small rise, from which they could glimpse the distant mountains. The beauty of the landscape stirred something within Lot's heart. A flicker of hope rekindled. He recalled how, even amidst devastation, the Almighty crafted paths for his people, recalling the words from Genesis, "I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse." "Look!" he beckoned to his daughters, pointing toward the peaks. "Those mountains signify a new journey, a place where the Lord may plant us in richness and grace." Yet doubt lingered like a dark cloud upon their hearts. The younger daughter's voice broke the silence. "But, Father, what if we encounter another city like Sodom? What if we find ourselves ensnared in wickedness again?" Lot turned to them, his brow furrowed. "We must trust in his lead. Remember the covenant that was made. We are part of his promise. The Lord knows our hearts and the burdens we carry." As twilight embraced the horizon, they sought rest beneath the shelter of an olive tree. Lot watched the sun dip below the earth, and he prayed fervently, seeking reassurance. Suddenly, the stillness of the night was pierced by a mighty whirlwind, sending leaves swirling about. Startled awake, his daughters watched as a profound light enveloped them once more. "Stand firm!" Lot commanded, for he felt the air shift. Out from the light stepped another heavenly messenger, and with wings that shimmered like the golden rays of dawn. "I bring news," declared the divine presence, resonating with authority. "Fear not, Lot, for the eyes of the Lord are upon the earth. Your journey is not in vain. The destiny of your lineage is being shaped even now." "What is to become of us?" Lot inquired, heart full of trepidation yet yearning for the truth. "From your descendants a nation shall arise, a holy people dedicated to the Most High. You shall witness the unfolding of God's great design." The messenger spoke, and a warmth enveloped Lot's heart. As the celestial being continued, "But heed this warning. The sins of the past echo through time. You must teach your daughters to remain steadfast, for even as they shall flourish, within them lies the choice of righteousness or decay." Lot trembled at the weight of responsibility laid upon him. "I will guide them in thy wisdom," he pledged fervently. The messenger inclined his head, and the light began to fade, but not before uttering one last proclamation. "Prepare your hearts for what is to come, for the fate of many hangs in the balance. In the places you travel, the hand of judgment shall be revealed, and redemption shall intertwine with sorrow." With that, the figure vanished, leaving them awash in the glow of the stars that began to twinkle against the deepening dark. The sense of foreboding lingered, yet so too did the promise of hope. They camped that night beneath the vast expanse of heaven, as Lot strived to impart wisdom upon his daughters, recounting tales of faith that charted a course through doubt. "Know this," he told them, "the Lord has stirred us. There is purpose in our hearts. Though trials will come, the thread of righteousness is woven into our very being. We are caught in his divine tapestry." And as he spoke, the winds whispered the secrets of ages past, as destiny awaited them beyond the horizon's veil. What perilous journeys lay ahead? What storms of faith would test them? The darkness beckoned forth the dawn of God's greater revelation, a divine architect seeking to redeem and renew, echoing through the valleys of time. The air was thick with divine expectancy, for they had yet to witness the fullness of God's sovereign plan, manifested in untold ways. As dawn broke, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson, Lot felt the Spirit of God urging him to rise. With a renewed spirit he called to his daughters, "Awake, my beloved girls, the day of the Lord approaches," and with it a path revealed. They stirred from their sleep, and as the sun stretched its rays over the mountains, they gathered their modest possessions and set forth once more. The road before them was rugged, and with each step the memories of Sodom haunted their hearts. The land bore witness to their anguish, for from it sprang forth sorrows entwined with loss and grief. Lot glanced at his daughters, their faces a tapestry of hope mingled with fear, and he longed to comfort them. "Remember the great mercy shown to us," Lot said gently, "for the Lord spared us from destruction. Surely he will guide our steps through the unknown." Yet their sighs echoed doubts forged in the fires of their past. The elder daughter spoke timidly, "But Father, how can we trust in guidance when the shadows of our past still cling to us? Will the Lord truly direct our paths?" Lot took a breath, recalling the promises spoken by the heavenly messenger. "As it is written, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths," he proclaimed, instilling courage in their hearts. With every step the landscape transformed. The hills became steeper and the flora grew sparse. Yet as the Lord had promised, the mountains soon soared before them, standing resolute against the sky. They happened upon a small brook, its waters cascading joyfully over stones, heralding a blessing from above. They paused to drink, the refreshing waters quenching their thirst and reviving their spirits. As they rested, a distant smoke caught Lot's eye, ascending up toward the heavens. His heart raced as he turned to his daughters. "Something is amiss. We must draw near, yet cautiously, for the Lord's hand may yet be at work." They obeyed, their feet swiftly carrying them toward the source of the darkening clouds. As they approached the valley below, the stench of charred earth and ruin became unmistakable, a grim reminder of the cities lost to judgment. Lot's heart sank, weeping not only for the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, but for the souls that had turned their backs against the Almighty. "Look," cried the younger daughter, emboldened, "though the cities are laid to waste, press forward, Father. Perhaps there is hope yet." With every pulse of courage, Lot felt the presence of God, the weight of despair slowly lifting. Indeed, for the Lord has not forgotten his people. There are remnants of faith yet among the ruins, and perhaps a glimmer of what shall arise in their place. They pressed onward until the ruins came into view, offering both a heavy heart and the promise of revelation. As they crossed the threshold into the devastated site, a vibrant flower peeked through the desolation. Lot knelt beside it, touched by its resilience. "See this, my daughters. Even in utter destruction, life seeks to bloom. In the gloom of judgment, redemption lies in waiting." Suddenly, amid the ashes, another figure appeared. It was a traveler, weary yet hopeful, a man of justice carrying a staff. "Who are you that wander through the remnants?" he asked, with a voice firm like the ground beneath their feet. Lot stepped closer. "We are humble servants of the Most High, seeking guidance and refuge." The man's eyes widened. "Then you are the ones of whom it was spoken. For through you a remnant shall flourish, and from ashes shall rise a new nation." These words struck Lot with awe, for it echoed God's promise. But with this revelation also bore the weight of a deeper understanding. What judgment sought to eradicate, God was preparing to redeem. As they stood amidst the ruins, they could sense a divine stirring. Would they be the seeds from which the Lord would cultivate his promise? The unknown loomed like a veil, hope and trepidation entwined. The air thickened with divine mystery as they awaited the next chapter in God's sovereign plan. What destinies would emerge from these ashes of desolation, and how would his will unfold in the lives still to come? Lot stood transfixed, the weight of the traveler's words settling like a mantle upon his shoulders. His heart beat with the rhythm of uncertainty and awe, yet within him stirred a flicker of resilience. "What shall we do, O man of justice?" he asked, seeking wisdom in the shadows of despair. "Fear not," the traveler replied, lifting his staff as if to summon strength from the remnants surrounding them. "For the Lord has decreed that from this desolation a new creation shall emerge. You are called to be the vessel of his promise. Arise and take courage. The journey before you will not be free from trial, but blessed those who walk in faith." Lot turned to his daughters, their faces like bright lanterns amidst the gloom. Let us gather our hearts, for we are entwined in his purpose. We must press forward and lay hold of the hope that God extends to us. As they began their ascent into what was once a thriving land, visions of Sodom haunted them. The streets where laughter had echoed now faded into a pall of sorrow. Yet in the midst of such ruin, the sun poured its light graciously upon them, illuminating the path ahead. Lot's daughters exchanged glances, their shared understanding deepening as they journeyed onward. In the valley, they encountered those who had also fled the calamity. Among them was a woman clothed in garments of mourning, her face drawn, yet her eyes sparkled with fierce determination. "You are the remnants of the faithful," she exclaimed. "I have seen the Lord preserve you, and I too seek the land of promise." Lot welcomed the woman, whose name was Abiah, and together they forged a bond of hope. Abiah spoke of visions she had received, of a land flowing with milk and honey, of families restored, and of laughter returning to the earth. "Let us not forget," she implored. "The Lord is a God of restoration." Intrigued and emboldened, Lot listened as she recounted tales of faith held amidst trials, a heritage stretching back to Abraham, who walked with God through deserts and mountains. Her words ignited a passion within him. "Truly, we are the heirs of promises yet unfulfilled," Lot affirmed, grasping the grasp of vision that God was weaving through their hands. As they pressed onward, the land became bleak, stricken by judgment. Each step sunk into the earth, but with every path they trod, a warmth enveloped their hearts. The presence of the Almighty was palpable, reassuring them of his continual guidance. Later that night, as they gathered under the starlit sky, a sense of unity blossomed among them. They interceded for the souls lost to their forsaken ways, their prayers rising like incense before the throne of grace. In that sacred moment, the traveler appeared amid their gathering once again. "Such faith stirs the heart of God," he proclaimed. "What shall become of us?" Lot inquired, burdened by the weight of uncertainty. "Fear not, for your cries have been heard," the traveler declared. "The Lord will establish a covenant with those who uphold righteousness. Prepare your hearts, for a great movement is upon you. A nation shall rise, and you shall be its torchbearers." Lot felt the assurance of divine resolution fill the air. Even amidst ruin, God was orchestrating revival. With the dawning of a new day, he sensed a shift in the very fabric of their journey. How would they embrace this call? As the embers of their fire waned, they realized that this was not merely an ending, but a beginning. The unknown stretched before them like an expanse of uncharted waters, teeming with promise yet shadowed by fear. And as the night deepened, the promise lingered, a stirring in their souls. What would be birthed from the ashes? What destinies lay hidden in the heart of God, waiting to unfold with power? In that sacred silence, answers seemed just beyond reach, shrouded in divine mystery. As dawn broke over the desolate landscape, the rays of the sun pierced through the remnants of sorrow and destruction. Lot awoke, the words of the traveler echoing in his mind, stirring his heart to action. The time had come for him to lead his family forth, away from despair and into the promise of God's new creation. "Let us rise," Lot called to his daughters and to Abiah, determination rising like a flame within him. "We must journey onward, for our path is illuminated by the Lord's grace." With spirits ignited by faith they set forth, their feet treading upon the rocky terrain that once flourished with life. Lot could see the mountains in the distance, high and majestic, beckoning them with possibilities. "Though the past weighs heavy upon us," he declared, "we shall not be bound by it. The Lord is with us." The assembled group journeyed through groves of withered trees, each step echoing with the memories of what had once been. As they moved, Lot's heart swelled with hope. They spoke of the stories they would tell, of their struggle and survival, and of the brighter horizon that beckoned them. Just as they neared the river that divided the land, a great wind stirred, rustling through the trees, carrying whispers of the Almighty. Lot paused, sensing a shift in the spiritual atmosphere. "The Lord is revealing something," he whispered, awestruck. Abiah stepped forward. "What is it, Lot? What do you behold?" "The Spirit of the Lord is upon us, showing his hand in the midst of our journey," he responded, his voice steady. "If he spared us from destruction, there is more to come. We must listen." They knelt by the riverbank, a powerful prayer rising from their lips, beseeching the God of Abraham to guide and protect them, to solidify his promises within them. After their prayers, a vision unfolded before Lot's eyes, a great multitude rising from the ashes of the old, a nation born from the very trials they endured. "I see a people," he spoke in fervent wonder, "who shall worship the Lord in truth and righteousness. They will walk in his ways." As he shared this revelation, soaring over the hills came a mantle of peace, embracing them amidst uncertainty. Yet the weight of a solemn truth lingered, a reminder of the judgment upon Sodom and Gomorrah, the eternal consequences of forsaking the ways of the Lord. Suddenly Abiah's voice broke through the silence, trembling yet strong. "O Lot, could it be that our deliverance is tied to more than just our survival? Could it be that we are part of a divine narrative shaping what is yet to come?" "Yes," Lot affirmed, his heart heavy and resolute. "We are woven into the fabric of his great plan, where righteousness must endure and justice must prevail. We are inheritors, not of despair, but of new covenants filled with hope." Just then, the ground beneath them trembled, a divine sign of the Lord's presence among his faithful. A fireball ascended from the distant horizon, igniting the sky, a clear reminder of the judgment that had fallen upon the wicked cities. "These flames remind us," Lot said, turning grave, "that while mercy reigns, the justice of God is certain." With hearts fortified, they revered in silence, reflecting how the merciful hand of God remained upon them despite the shaking earth. As they arose, a newfound urgency propelled them forward, encompassing their vision of the future. What awaited them beyond those mountains? What heights of glory would they discover in the unfolding saga of their people? The travelers' words resonated in their souls, a beacon of light guiding them forth into the unknown, and as they ventured on, tethered by faith, a chilling whisper echoed among them. The time has not yet come for the fulfillment of God's promise. In that moment, a sacred hush enveloped the gathering, sealing a powerful truth. They were chosen for a purpose far greater than themselves, and the story of God's redemptive work was far from complete. As Lot and his family pressed forward, their hearts brimming with hope, intertwining with dread, they crossed the river that stood as a boundary between the remnants of their past and the mystique of the promises yet to unfold. The sound of flowing waters echoed as if whispering the secrets of God's divine timing, each ripple reflecting the unfolding journey. "Behold," Lot said, "the mountains are nearer. The very foundation of our new beginning is laid before us." His voice was filled with conviction as he urged his daughters forward, their faces lit by the sunlight spilling over the peaks. Yet as they began their ascent, a creeping sorrow tugged at Lot's heart, a weighty remembrance of lost lives and unrepentant hearts. "Father, what if we encounter the remnants of Sodom's wickedness along our path?" one of his daughters asked, her brow furrowed with concern. Lot paused, his eyes meeting the horizon, where the sun painted a picture of glory and despair side by side. "Even as shadows loom, the light of the Lord shall guide us. We must remain steadfast, refusing to be drawn back into the darkness," he replied, bolstered by his faith. They climbed higher, the air growing cool and crisp, invigorating their spirits. Few steps ahead, an unusual sound met their ears, a chorus of voices. Lot's heart raced as they approached a clearing where a gathering of travelers convened. They were weary yet hopeful, recounting stories of destruction met with divine deliverance. "What tidings do you bring?" Lot inquired, stepping forward with an urgency kindled by the Spirit. One elder among them, clothed in tattered robes but radiant in countenance, raised his voice above the murmurs, "Flee from the shadows of judgment. For upon the mountains dwells a holy voice calling out a new generation, a people of promise destined to rise." A profound silence fell upon the assembly as Lot sensed the weight of prophecy intertwined with their newfound hope. "We are escaping judgment, but we must not forget the lessons left in its wake," Lot declared, and his voice carried the weight of his experiences. As he shared their journey of survival, the elder nodded in ignited understanding. "You, Lot, shall carry forth the vision of righteousness. It is through your lineage that the promise shall break into the world. A great nation shall emerge, blessed by the Almighty." With tears filling his eyes, Lot felt the warm embrace of God's presence, despite the shadows of the past trailing behind. "May our hearts forever remember the path of the faithful," he murmured. As the evening light waned, casting long shadows, Abiah addressed the gathering. "Could it be that we are to intercede for those who dwell in darkness, that they too may find deliverance?" she questioned, her compassion flowing freely. "Shall we not be the voices of hope amidst despair?" The crowd murmured in agreement, leaning toward the fire of shared conviction that sparked within them. Lot placed a hand over Abiah's shoulder, affirming her word. "Yes, we shall be the light upon the hill, the city that cannot be hidden, for it is in our calling that others may find their way back to the Almighty." The gathering concluded their time in prayer, a beautiful melody of supplications rising to the heavens. As a final gust of wind swept through, Lot's heart was stirred once more, a resonance of the traveller's words echoing in sweet remembrance. "The time has not yet come for the fulfillment of God's promise." Amidst the gathering twilight, both solemn and sanctified, they understood that they were being prepared for the extraordinary, a revelation unfolding in layers that pointed to a greater destiny, one intertwined with the divine purpose. Little did they know, the winds of change were stirring the heart of the Lord to fulfill what he had spoken through his prophets. The mountains stood as silent sentinels, witnessing the divine plan set into motion. The covenant of a promised people was about to be etched upon the annals of eternity. As dawn broke, a gentle light spilled over the mountain peaks, illuminating the faces of Lot and his daughters, who awoke to the promise of a new day. Yet an unquiet anticipation filled the air, and Lot could not shake the heaviness of his spirit. The memories of Sodom weighed heavily upon him, a bittersweet balm tinged with pain and hope. "Let us rise and seek the counsel of the Lord," he urged his daughters, resolve igniting anew in his heart. Their eyes shimmered with the reflections of faith as they gathered their belongings, ready to embark upon the path set before them. As they began their search for a place of shelter and rest, they encountered a valley filled with lush green pastures. A certain stillness enveloped the area, causing Lot to feel a strange stirring in his spirit. "Surely this land is a sign of God's grace," he spoke, his voice resonating with the old warmth of assurance. Yet one of his daughters, Miriam, gazed into the distance, her brow knit in worry. "But, Father, can we be sure the remnants of evil do not linger nearby? The shadows may clutch at our hearts even in this bright place." Lot sensed the sincerity of her concern. "The Lord has delivered us from the flames. He will not forsake us now," he replied, his heart anointed with a conviction only faith could provide. "Let us pray for strength, for the light to shine against the encroaching shadows." Gathering under a starlit canopy, they knelt and prayed, with hearts united, as supplication rose, aligning their spirits with the potent winds of the divine. Then suddenly the air vibrated with a presence neither of them could see, yet felt deeply within. "What is happening?" Miriam asked, eyes wide with awe. Thrust into reverence, Lot replied, "This is the Spirit of our God. He is near." And in that moment a voice emerged, echoing within their hearts. "You are called to be witnesses of my mercy. Behold, I will make you a beacon, raising you to proclaim my name among the nations, to guard against the descent into darkness." Lot trembled in the wake of the pronouncement. "What does this mean, O Lord?" he whispered, his soul yearning for understanding. The voice, fading among the whispers of the wind, continued, "You will be the foundation upon which a great nation will stand. As the stars of the heavens outnumber those in the land you once fled, so shall your children multiply, and through you shall blessings flow. For the world is ripe for redemption, and those who turn back into the night shall witness destruction anew." Miriam turned to her father, trembling with the weight of the revelation. "Father, could it be that we hold in our hands a sacred responsibility?" "Yes, my daughter," Lot breathed, pulling her close. "We have been chosen, not simply to escape, but to declare his truth amidst the world's turmoil. He desires to restore, even unto those we dared not hope for." The light of dawn slowly filled the valley as they rose from their knees, emboldened by the call they had heard. Lot felt anew the fierce flame of hope burning within. Indeed, the path ahead would be wrought with trials, yet each step would be guided by the hand of God. As they ventured forth, a shiver ran through the land, as if the ground trembled at the promise soon to be fulfilled. Unbeknownst to them, the remnants of Sodom and Gomorrah were not yet quenched, and the judgment of their evil was teetering upon the edge of divine determination. Thus the covenant of the Almighty awaited the appointed time, where again the heavens would proclaim his justice and mercy through those who emerged from ashes, setting the stage for a revelation that would reverberate through generations. But what he was about to unveil would leave them in awe of his sovereign plan, where the line between judgment and mercy would soon be tested once more. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, bathing the valley in warmth, Lot felt the renewed weight of his calling upon his shoulders. The air thickened with divine potential, and he sensed God's presence weaving through their journey with purpose. "Let us gather our resolve," he urged, his voice steady with conviction. "The Lord is guiding us through the valleys of despair to fulfill a covenant that spans generations." Miriam and her sister embraced his words, as hope flickered to life within them. United in purpose, they pressed onward across the lush pastures, the very landscape beneath their feet reverberating with promise. Though the shadows of Sodom still clung to them, the light of their faith began to shine brighter each day. Days turned to weeks, and under the steadfast hand of Providence, the family established their new home, a place where righteousness could flourish and where the lessons of the past would echo as powerful testimonies. Lot taught his daughters faithfully, imparting wisdom shaped by the shadows of destruction. "Remember," he instructed, "the Lord's hand will guide us if we remain steadfast in our faith." In the evenings, they gathered around the flickering firelight, recounting stories of the faithfulness of Abraham, the patriarch whose obedience led them to this moment. He walked alone through deserts, seeking the land of promise, Lot recounted, his voice reverberating with pride. "And so shall we walk, trusting in the one who speaks mountains into existence." As they entered the rhythm of daily life, a prayer arose from Lot's heart for wisdom and protection, echoing in whispered conversations and fervent supplications. God met them in those sacred moments, breathing life into their aspirations and assuring them of his overarching plan. "For I know the plans I have for you," he seemed to whisper through the winds, filling their hearts with courage. Seasons changed, and Lot's daughters blossomed into women of virtue and strength. With each passing year, they watched the land prosper, awash in the beauty of God's creation, and around them, the seeds of hope were sown into the fabric of their community. The shadows of Sodom became reminders, not of despair, but of the resilience born from faith. Lessons carved through fire, and the promise of redemption echoed in every heartbeat. One day, as the sun cast its golden rays, a traveler approached their modest dwelling. A man clothed in humility, yet possessing a divine authority. His eyes shone like stars, capturing the essence of hope and purpose. "I have journeyed far," he announced, a serene confidence in his voice. "The Lord has sent me to you, for through you his blessings shall extend to the nations." Lot's heart raced, the echoes of the traveler's words stirring ancient promises within him. "What is required of us?" he asked, sensing the gravity of the moment. "The future of your lineage lies in the choices you will make," the traveler replied, his countenance warm yet penetrating. "You must teach your daughters to uphold righteousness, for they are destined to be the matriarchs of a people who will honor the Lord their God." With the enormity of the charge resting heavily on him, Lot turned to his daughters, their eyes wide with anticipation. "We are called to be more than mere survivors. We are destined to stand as beacons of light." His voice trembled with fervor, the weight of his duty compelling him toward renewed resolve. "Shall we not rise up and uphold his truth?" Miriam stepped forward, her heart aflame with the passion of a leader. "Yes, Father, we must embrace the calling in our veins and nurture the legacy of faith within us. For all that we have endured has brought us to this moment, to be vessels of hope and righteousness." The traveler nodded, a smile touching his lips. "Then may your steps be firm, and your hearts directed toward the Lord. For as you honor him, he shall honor you in turn." With each passing day, the family grew closer, united under the banner of God's promises. They cultivated the land, raised their voices in song, and shared stories of their journey, recounting not only the tragedies that had befallen Sodom, but the triumphs born from God's grace. The village flourished, filled with laughter, joy, and the sweet fellowship of community. And so, the years unfolded like petals before spring. Lot's daughters married into families that shared their fervent faith, creating bonds that would deepen the roots of righteousness through every generation. The legacy of Abraham lived on, pulsating with hope, their home transformed into a tapestry woven with stories of redemption, where each thread sang of prayers heard and answered. As twilight descended one evening, Lot stood upon a hill overlooking the valley, casting his gaze towards distant sunsets. Memories of Sodom floated through his mind, yet they held no power over him anymore. Instead, he embraced the presence of the Lord, feeling the resolve of divine sovereignty envelop him. "You have brought us forth from ashes, and within these walls a future is being forged in faith." In that sacred moment he realized that the echoes of Sodom would forever remind him of God's unwavering mercy, a beacon for countless generations yet to come. "May we remain steadfast and vigilant, always seeking your face, O Lord," Lot whispered reverently, tracing the horizon with his hands. As day surrendered to night, the stars began to twinkle overhead, a celestial reminder of the promise made so long ago. And in that vastness, the truth became clear. Trials and tribulations molded their hearts to seek goodness, while the unfathomable depths of God's love breathed into them their very purpose. Beloved family, the story of Lot and his daughters triumphs in the face of despair, proclaiming that God's redemptive power is ever present, even amid destruction. What a mighty God they served! And what about you? Are you ready to step into the promise that awaits you? This is your moment to embrace the truth. To subscribe immediately to this channel, to not miss the next powerful biblical stories which can transform your faith. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm. I invite you to comment below with your own reflections and the lessons this biblical story has imparted to you. Please share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to His Word. Let's reach more souls for Christ together. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony.